Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale in Abuja. We're going to be having some very, very crucial conversation tonight about how we need to move this country forward. But first, let me bring you up to speed and give you some update of what happened yesterday in one of the coverage of the governorship primaries that we're following for you. Of course, Accord Party had his own primary and candidates emerged. But in the All Progressives Congress, APC, the primary election was conducted amid some drama. A member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Dennis Idahosa, was declared the winner of the primary election. It was the chairman of the APC Primary Election Committee, Senator Hope Uzodinma, who announced him as the winner.
Here, therefore, to certify, Charles Ahewere, 162 votes. Professor Osame Osumbo, 180 votes. Blessing Abomere, 50 votes. Honorable Dennis Idahosa, 40,453 votes. Ernest Afolabi Omakihe, 2 votes. And His Excellency Lucky Imasore, who withdrew, 2 votes. This is here, therefore, to certify that Honorable Dennis Idahosa, having scored the highest number of votes cast, is hereby declared the winner of the primaries and is returned as the candidate of All Progressive Congress for the coming election.
That was a declaration by the chairman of the committee sent by the NWC to conduct that election, Senator Hope Uzodinma. Meanwhile, drama ensued as some thugs disrupted the venue of where a group of APC members were making some announcement different from where the Senator Uzodinma community used for their own announcement. And that venue was where Senator Monday Okpebolo was later declared the winner of that parallel primary election. And the announcement, the APC State Returning Officer, Ugwaja Stanley, declared Senator Okpebolo as the winner of the exercise held in Benin City.
Votes. Colonel David Imasore scored 507 votes. Senator Monday Okpebolo, very distinguished senator, scored 12,145 votes. This is to certify that Senator Monday Okpebolo, having scored the highest number of votes cast, is hereby declared and announced as the gubernatorial flag bearer of our great party, APC, for the first time.
Well, the confusion continued. That's the second person declared, isn't it? Honorable Anamero Dekere became the third aspirant to claim victory. Mr. Ojo Babatunde, who said to be acting on behalf of all the local government returning officers, said that Honorable Dekere polled 25,384 votes to beat Dennis Idahosa, who polled 14,127 votes to come second. And Honorable Dekere has since accepted the victory.
APC in Edo State came out to vote for a candidate of their choice to fly the party's flag in the forthcoming gubernatorial election for Edo State. In their wisdom, they elected me, Honorable Anamero Sode Dekere, as their preferred candidate, and in all humility and with a great sense of responsibility, I accept this choice, which I believe is a reflection of God's choice. From the depth of my heart, I say a big thank you to you, members of our great party in Edo State, for reposing this huge confidence in me.
All right. I know there are a lot of reactions that will be trailing the conduct of that primary elections of the APC. Well, let's move swiftly, everyone. Some reports coming from Kaduna suggest that at least 12 people have been killed and 9 others brutally injured by bandits who attacked Yedinduse Makiali village of Kufana district in the Kajuru local government area of Kaduna State. A community leader, Moses Musa, told China Television that the attack occurred in the early hours of Sunday, very close to a military checkpoint. He said that the bandits invaded the community around 5 a.m. as the residents were still asleep and immediately started shooting sporadically. He disclosed that 9 people were burned to death inside their rooms and 9 others sustained varying degrees of injuries from fire burn. My guest tonight is the Kaduna State Governor, Senator Uba Sani, who joins us virtually from Kaduna. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us. And our heart goes out to the victims of the attack in the Kajuru local government area. But what more do you know that you can tell us tonight about that incident?
Thank you, Sean, my brother. Thank you for having me. Of course, we woke up to the very terrible news of an incident that happened in Gerawa ward of Edo local government. Of course, the situation has been calm. We've addressed the situation quickly, and we were so proactive because with the support of the GOC or Mechanized Division, General Oporo, and our team of Operation Yaki jointly work together to quickly move into the area. And as we are speaking, the situation is under control, and most of the people that have been kidnapped and those that have been injured have been taken care by the government. We are working closely with the families of those that were affected. And of course, we have moved them to the hospital. We're looking at the situation. And those that have been kidnapped, we are working with the security agencies as well as the communities within the area to ensure that we have been able to rescue them from those kidnappers. But the most interesting aspect of the whole situation is that the communities there that comprise about 3 communities within the area of the local government, they have made it clear to the government as well as the security agencies that they suspect some level of informants within the communities that have been working closely with those bandits or the kidnappers. And the government is working to ensure that with the support of the traditional rulers, religious leaders, community leaders in those areas, we are able to identify those disgruntled elements within the communities that have been involved. Like I said, here in Kaduna State, we've been very proactive. It came to us as a surprise because in the last 3 or 4 months, we've been having series of meetings with our core security agencies in the Kaduna State, comprising the military, both the Air Force, the Army, the police, the DSS, as well as our local vigilance services, who are working closely with even the traditional and community leaders to ensure that we upscale our level of intelligence gathering and intelligence sharing. So I believe we will be able to address this issue because of the relevant information we have. And we are very proactive. In the next few days, by the grace of God, we'll be able to rescue those people.
All right. Why? I mean, there's a question that someone will want to know. Why does it look like Kajuru local government, like 1 or 2 other local government, look vulnerable to the attacks from these bandits? Is there any reason? No. Is it geography or proximity to the forest, or what exactly?
There are about 2 or 3 local governments in Canada shares borders with some states. That is why we have been working closely to ensure that we have synergy and work closely with other states that are sharing borders with Kaduna State, particularly Kaduna State, Niger State, this estate that shares borders with Kaduna through the forests of Benongwari, as well as some part of the local government and Giwa that shares borders with Katsina State. And of course, like I said, always this operation will be jointly. In Kaduna, we've been lucky because we've already attracted some support from the military, particular defense headquarters, where, like I said, in the last 2 weeks, we reached an agreement with the military to establish 2 operating bases in Zangon Katap and Ikabi local government. This is the area which the military are working toward establishing one of the operating bases, 4 operating bases in that local government. So this will only make the military to quickly work toward meeting the deadline, because in our last meeting, they made it clear to us that before the end of February, they would be able to establish a forward operating base in this very general area. And so I'm working toward that. It's just a setback, but I have no doubt in my mind with the level of operation taking place in Kaduna by the military, and as well as other relevant security agencies, we will be able to address this issue. But like I said, in the last few months, I have been insisting that the only way we can address this issue is that we need more boots on ground. The military are trying. They're trying their best. Other relevant security agencies are trying their best. But we need more boots on ground. That is the reason why, if you notice and you've been following my own position in the last 6 months, thereabouts, I've been insisting that we can only address the problem of security if we agree to establish state police in Nigeria. And now I'm saying this thing because, I'm happy just a few weeks ago, some governors have joined me in agitating for the establishment of state police. But it was a long voice. I was the only person insisting. But today, some governors have realized that we cannot address this issue. Of course, some governors have also made some effort in the last few months by establishing or empowering the vigilance services in different states. Even in the southwest, you can hear about Amotopun in the northwest, in particular, Zamfara State, Katsina State, even Kaduna State. We establish and increase the numbers of our vigilance service. But I feel it's just a temporary measure. But that cannot and can never address the problem of insecurity in our states, except we agree collectively to establish state policy in Nigeria. And because of my experience and my knowledge, because when I was in the Senate, if you could recall, I was a senator that sponsored 4 bills put together to establish state policy in Nigeria. Before I came into the Senate, the non-Senate, Senator Ike Madu has also been trying in the 8th Senate. But when I came in the 9th Senate, I sponsored the bills, and he was also supporting me. I could recall vividly. But we lost it at the level of a conference committee. When the Senate considered the bills as sponsored, trying to create state police, we had to sit down with the House of Reps at the level of conference committee, which I was a member from the Senate. The House also have their members, but of course, to amend a constitution, you must have a conference committee where the Senate and the House will come together. So we were at that level when the state police was lost at the conference committee level when we voted 21 to 19. So it was unfortunate. It was avoidable, actually, but that was history. Now, the 10th Assembly, like I said, have a big responsibility to look at the Constitution and amend it to ensure that we have state police in Nigeria. That is my position, and that's the only way forward.
I mean, it's interesting that for the first time, and it is novel in some way, that the federal government, state governors are on the same page about this issue of state police, and it looks to me that the president, the Bola Tinubu, is also thinking of ways to advance that conversation. But let me ask you, are you thinking, because you have a peculiar situation in Kaduna State, to establishing local policing system or community policing system just like we have in some other climes outside of here, where you will have local policing that are being controlled by the local authorities and the traditional rulership. Are you thinking of that kind of system for Kaduna State?
Let me be very clear to you, because if you look at, of course, a lot of people have looked at the issue of community policing, look at an effort to, like I made mention of Amotukun in Zamfara only a few weeks ago. There was an establishment of a village service. In Kaduna, we had 7,000. But let me be very clear to you. All those formations, all those creations are only going to help states on the basis of intelligence gathering and sharing, supporting the relevant security agencies. Because if you look at our Firearms Act, of course, if you recall, when I was in the Senate, I also tried to amend the Firearms Act because it was obsolete. The last time the Firearms Act was amended in Nigeria was over 30 years, if you look at the law. And if you look at the Firearms Act in Nigeria, it's obsolete, it's not in line with the global best practice everywhere in the world, not even in Africa. So in Nigeria is the only country where you can be arrested with illegal firearms, and you can be taken to the court or to the police, and you can be released based on some charges, not imprisonment, but you can pay a fine of about 50,000 thereabout, and you can go home. That is where we are today in Nigeria. And that's the reason why I kept emphasizing that when the United Nations Regional Center for Disarmament of Arms in Africa came with a report when I was in the Senate, that about 200 million illegal firearms are in circulation in Nigeria. Out of the 350 million in circulation in West Africa, 200 million are domiciled in Nigeria. Nobody care about that report. And this is where we are. If you have vigilance service, or you have vigilant groups, or you have Amotukun, or you have community policing, where is the law that allowed them to hold AK-47?
But Governor Sanning, part of what was agreed that was the President Bola Tinubu asking the governors to strengthen their forest guards and forest rangers and arm them. Not a specific, asking from the president, arming them to keep all the forests safe from criminals. This is coming from the president. It looks like a presidential and executive direction or order.
We are taking two things here. Don't mix up the two positions here, because Mr. President, if I could call us at the meeting, he emphasized also on the need to have state police. So any arrangement on to have state police is stopgap. That is the reason why he made it clear that until we establish state police, we cannot just allow our people to be vulnerable, to be killed by these criminal, wicked elements. There's a bandits within our own communities. So that's the reason why. But we're looking at the solution. And that was the reason why Mr. President emphasized. And let me be clear to you. Before the meeting, I had the privilege of discussing with Mr. President a few times. I recall that Mr. President himself, when he was a governor of Lagos State, he was among the people insisting and agitating for restructuring. What is restructuring? One of the components of restructuring is creating state police. If you recall, some of us have been advocating for the restructuring. We are looking at some particular areas that we believe need to be amended in our own constitution for us to move our country forward. And security, in my opinion, is the number one area that we need to look into, because if we don't address the problem in security, we cannot be able to address most of the developmental areas in our own country. Forget about when we're talking about supporting farmers to go to farm, improving our educational development, insisting that we look at the healthcare. We have to also look at the primary care. But if you look at it, we must have security. Security, for me, is number one agenda of this government. Even President Bola Tinubu made it clear to us. And I can tell you, we should give credit to President Bola Tinubu, because he's one president that is bold enough to insist that we must have state police. In the past, a lot of people misunderstood the agitation for state police. Some even were a bit ignorant about it. They thought it's about empowering the governors, But remember, when I was championing the establishment of state police in Nigeria alongside Senator Ike Ekwamadu, none of us was a governor. But we were agitating for that. Even some governors at that critical time were opposed to our agitation. But today, everyone have agreed that we need a state police. But I must give credit to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for being the first president in South Nigeria to insist that state police is a solution to.
Governor Sani, if I may jump in quickly, let me ask you, would you be arming these forest rangers to help comb and secure the forest where some of these bandits go and hide and perpetrate their evil?
Let me tell you, if you look at what is available, is that most of those vigilance services in our state, when you are trying
seems to be
to buy arms in Nigeria. Anybody you see with arms, whether it's vigilance service, let me make it clear to you. It's close. Hello,
please
can you hear me?
Please go ahead. We can hear you, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, so go ahead, sir.
Let me answer this to you so that you still don't misinform the general public who don't understand the law. So I want to be clear to you. It's not a matter of yes or no. It's a matter of trying to look at the statement of Mr. President in the right context before people take you to the social media and misinform the gullible Nigerians who need to be educated. That's why I'm telling you when I'm talking to, I'm referring to Constitution, I'm referring to law, and I made it clear. When we come to talk, we must come as educated people and informed. Some of the people out there, we need to be educated so that we don't misinform them. Mr. President made it clear. What was he saying? Mr. President is aware, just like you're aware as a lawyer yourself too. I know you went to study law and you know law to some extent, my brother. So if you look at it clearly, you will agree with me. Every vigilance service in every state in Nigeria, all of them, they cannot acquire any weapon, even if it's a light weapon, without the permission of the state police, the state commissioner. And most of the state commissioner at the state level, if you ask them sincerely, and the DSS, they are the ones with their own permission. Those arms are being bought by state governors for those vigilance services. And what the president is saying, instead of using the vigilance service in town, make them forest rangers. They will be guided by the police because most of the vigilance services they are seeing, they are being guided by the police. That's why they can only acquire those light weapons through the permission of the Commissioner of Police at the state level. And there's a level of permission and there's a category of every arms for you to acquire. That is a law. You know it very well because you're a lawyer. So what I'm talking about here is that Mr. President is making it clear to all of us that you have vigilance service. Why can't you now protect your forests? Because some of them are roaming the street of the towns. But he said, send them to the forest. They will work again with the relevant security agencies. Is it the police? Is it the army? Is it the Air Force? For them to protect the forest. So less people don't understand. Because when President speaks, we need to help Nigerians to tell them this is what he means.
Governor Sani, yeah, all right, good. Let me ask you, what have you learned about these bandits? Who are these bandits?
What do you want?
The bandits who are terrorizing the nation and some part of the northwest region of the country. Who are they? From the intelligence that you have, how would you describe them? The average bandit. Are they Nigerians? Are they aliens? What exactly do they want?
Let me tell you, in my own opinion, because you see, we have not started really to analyze this. I'm happy you asked this question because I'm someone who have been monitoring and following these events. Sometimes we try to think that maybe some people, maybe out of ignorance, believe the war against the insurgents in the Northeast is similar to fighting bandits in the Northwest. They are not the same at all. The insurgents in the northeastern part of Nigeria that terrorize some Borno State, Yobe State, and some states within the Northeast are different entirely from those bandits in the Northwest. And I'll tell you why. Those one in the Northeast, they are hiding under ideology saying they are Boko Haram. They've been, they've been recruiting people to say we don't want Boko because of Boko Haram. They're attacking schools. They're killing people, putting bombs in schools. If you remember, that was what their position was. These ones are doing this, they are basing their own attack on the base of their own ideology, which of course, it was rubbish also. But those bandits and kidnappers in the northwestern part of Nigeria, and even right now they're everywhere in Nigeria, including Abuja and some part of the southwest and every part of Nigeria. Those ones are doing this for economic gain. They kidnap and ask for money. There's no ideology. So their own is different. And that's the reason why they try to recruit a lot of informants within the communities before they attacked, just like what happened a few days in Kaduna. So what I'm saying in essence is we have to look at this issue critically. The only way to really deal with these bandits that are in the northwestern part of Nigeria is two things. For me, we also have to look at the issue of good governance. Because if we have good governance, we provide our people with the basic amenities, education, healthcare, improve and revitalize the economies of the rural areas within our own communities. Because this happens in villages more. Then you will agree with me. It will be difficult for anyone to come and recruit informants within those communities. Because it's because of economic gains. Whenever they are arrested, they will be telling the military or the police that someone gives them money to expose the communities. So it's for economic gains. If most of them are educated, they have the basic amenities, healthcare, education, revitalize their economies. As we are speaking, like I said, there are some states in northern Nigeria that have over 1.7 million out of school children. I know Kaduna will have less as we are speaking, but I want to look at it generally because, like I said at the beginning, you cannot address this issue of insecurity without having synergy between one state to another. So because we share borders. But the issue here is that we have a common problem. One, we have millions of out-of-school children. We have people that are completely helpless. I think when we're talking about non-kinetic approach to this issue, we tend to forget that good governance is number one and most important area of non-kinetic approach to this issue. What does that mean? Good governance. Looking at the situation. When I talked the other time, remember, I made it clear that when I was in the Senate, I was the chairman of the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Financial Institutions. And I can tell you, when you look at, go and check the record, I kept saying people thought it's just a joke. More than 75% of the adult age in the northwestern part of Nigeria are completely financially excluded. What does that mean? Most of them don't have any means or ways of attracting or benefiting from any social investment support from the federal government. That is the reason why when I came in, I signed an executive order in Kaduna to ensure that we bring at least 2.5 million underserved, vulnerable, poor back to financial services sector in Nigeria. And as we are speaking, we have brought about 1.5 million. And that is a deliberate effort by the government. And I believe that has to be done everywhere.
Yeah. Governor Sani, I understand that you need to run for another meeting, but perhaps my final question for you tonight is in respect of the current socio-economic situation in the country. There was a NEC meeting with your colleagues, the central bank governor, the vice president. There are a lot of people who are facing hardship like we have not seen in a long time in this country. And your party, the APC, made a lot of promise at the federal level and in some states that you control. Tonight, what do you tell millions of Nigerians who are watching, who sometimes, some of them may not even have hopes of what to eat tonight? What are the hopes that things can get better? What are on the sleeves of the governors who are the leaders of this country today?
Thank you very much, Sean. I believe this issue we're facing in this country is a very serious problem. I agree with you 100%, whether you're a governor, you're a senator, you are a journalist like you sitting there, or even an opposition, or even a private sector player, you have to be worried about. But I believe it is something that we can address collectively as governors. And let me start with governors. Looking at the situation, I believe we have to change our approach to issues, because governance is about people. And of course, when the situation becomes the way it is, we have to look at the people, because people first. That is the most important thing. We have to care about the people. How do we do that? We have to look at the relevant areas of our economies. In every state, we are not the same. We have our own peculiarity, and every governor has to look at his situation and find a way. How can I address this situation? I agree with you. The situation is really bad, but governors also have to play their role, not only the president of Nigeria. Asuwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu cannot come down to every local government in Nigeria to look at the problem of smallholder farmers. He cannot look at the situation of basic education at the primary school levels. He cannot look at the primary health care of every state. And he cannot also sit down there in Abuja to address all this issue. That, for me, every governor have to also look at this issue, and we have to begin to address this issue frontally. It's very important. Coming to that, National Assembly also must look at this issue critically and look at the budget they've done, the current budget that now the federal government has started implementing it. They have to be careful in the way they oversight these relevant agencies and ensure that monies allocated to federal agencies have to go directly to some developmental projects that will affect the lives of the people at the grassroots level.
All right.
That is also the role. And lastly, even the private sector, I must tell you, have a role to play, because they cannot sit down. What we're talking here is that a lot of people in the private sector, that they have to also come out and look at this issue and make their own support and contribution, because we're talking about Nigeria. And this crisis of economy is a global economic crisis we are facing. Only 2 days ago, if you look at it, even UK have slipped into recession. That is not only Nigeria, every country around the world.
All right.
It's a global crisis. And everyone must make his own effort and contribution, not only President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That's why I'm not speaking for the president, but I believe we all have to try as much as possible and stop being critics only. What I'm saying is that someone like me, you know my antecedent. I've been in the civil rights movement alongside the like of Ganefo, and even Femi Falana, Michael Zokome. But it's easy to be there. But if people think things are not working properly, please, I will urge them, join democracy, contest election even as a state assembly member, or a senator, or a governor. Then you can make your input, but don't sit down and write and criticize the government when you could not go and contest for the state assembly or a local government chairman in your own locality. It's easy, because I was there before, and I taught, and Chief Ganefo told us when we were in the opposition, because he was my leader, that can we join politics? And that was the reason why, if you recall, some of us started National Conscience Party. And today, to credit some of us, that was the reason why political space is open. Today, we have a lot of political parties, courtesy of the people like me. And Ganefo went to court, up to Supreme Court, to expand the political space of Nigeria. So I want them to take advantage of that and join politics and add values to their own communities and societies. Thank you very much.
Senator Ubasani, Executive Governor of Kaduna, say thank you so much indeed. I appreciate your time tonight and the thought that you've shared.
Thank you, my brother. Sure. Thank you for having me again.
I appreciate it. We'll take a break, everyone, and when we return, the debate on state police and plans for a switch to parliamentary system of government continues on the program tonight, and I'm bringing to you a very experienced lawyer, a very experienced federal lawmaker, former lawmaker, Senator Ita will be sharing with us some deep insights on the way forward for this country. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back. In which the president and the state governors had a meeting, and they came together to agree very unique in the sense that this for a long time hasn't happened. So if they say state police is the way to go, the president has made some specific pronouncement. Don't forget also, in a twist of event, some federal lawmakers are advocating for a switch from a presidential system of government to a parliamentary system of government. Tonight, I have a very experienced lawyer and a very experienced lawmaker, Senator Eternal, to give us some insight on this one. Thank you so much, Distinguished, for talking to us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Off the camera, you were saying that Ekweremadu, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, fought the battle, and the governor of Kaduna State also said the same about this issue of state police, but it's now coming to something that we urgently need to face. How much of urgency do we need?
I think
state police
let
matter?
me say that it was a question of time, and Senator Ike Ekweremadu, as Deputy President of the Senate in the 7th Senate, where I served, also was very vehement that we should have state police. He sponsored and brought a bill. I was one of those who vehemently opposed him, campaigned against it, went out of my way to say the way the governors exercise powers over electoral process. If you give them control of security, they will kill everybody. But now it is no more the question of the governors. We now shouldn't care so much about what the governor does with it, so long as he does one thing with it. I use it to manage security internally of the state and allows peace to be. Because the economy is affected today because farmers can no more enter the farm. And there is a lot of contradictions, a lot of contests or contestations where the governors say, look, they do not have power over the police. And the police, whenever there is any incidents, the governors will say they do not have command over the police, they do not have command over the soldiers. I'm sure a lot of people have heard the story of the stories emanating from Plateau State, where there is even the governor will come out complaining that he is not in control because the command has to generate from Abuja, the police command has to generate from Abuja, the army, the command has to come from Abuja. And of course, if a governor could complain that there is something he could do with it. So I want to say that it is time, and state police is an idea whose time has come. And again, let me commend His Excellency President Tinubu, because right from the days of ACN, as governor of Lagos, through the leader of the party then, Wumi Bewaji, who led I think he led the ACN angle of the minority, in the House of Representatives. He'd been advocating this. And when Gbajabiamila joined in 2003, they still brought that idea of federalism and just true federalism, which Obongota advocated, and that it should include state police. But we opposed it then, just as we opposed it then in the House of Representatives, just as we opposed in the Senate when I got to the Senate. But the time is now for us to voluntarily have state police, because we have economic situation. The greatest problem we have about the food crisis is insecurity. Because I would have thought, and people personally would have thought, that in areas like Abia, Imo, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, Bayelsa, that it is safe to go into the farm. But I was shocked on Thursday last week, about the 15th of this month, about 4 days ago. I was in Ikona local government in Akwa Ibom State. And I had opportunity of sitting and taking the complaint and harassment of the people that you APC, you people are causing hardship in this country. You people, there is no food. And I was with them. I drove a long way from Uyo and from Ibiono to the place in Ikona. And I said to them, look, is it President Tinubu that will come and plant rice, plant cassava, plant plantain in this vast array of land that throughout where I have driven up to this place, and that even the plantain you have here are just accidentally germinating? He said, how can we enter the bush? That all this bush in Akwa Ibom State, Ikona local government, all this bush, there are cow and persons with gun in the place, manning this thing. So they can't even go to plant. That was that day. That is 4 days ago. That is when now, because I thought it was just a single speaker in the incident.
Yeah.
So
it dawned on you
become an advocate, no more a passer-by, and I'm not just saying, okay, it's okay, I am going to be an advocate. So
Senator,
what I suggest the government should do, Mr. President should do, we should not wait for the National Assembly to finish the Constitution amendment process. We should not allow it to be part of those matters that will be considered by the Senate, by the House, by the Joint Constitution Committee, and then pass to and then they go on conference in Lagos or Kaduna, and then agree, and then come to pass, and then send to the House of Assembly. Mr. President should direct the Attorney General of the Federation to prepare an executive bill to forward to the National Assembly so that it will be treated as a stand-alone executive bill on state police, where the delimitation of the functions of the state police vis-a-vis the federal police, vis-a-vis delineation with duties of security agencies, as against the possible overlap of functions or authority or command. So, when they will do it, the president should do that so that it can be taken with the urgency it demands. As a lawyer, yes, there are those who will think that this is a very difficult task to amend those parts of the Constitution, which, as local government boundaries, these are very difficult areas because of how the Constitution has provided on the processes to amend this. If this has failed in several other constitutional amendment process, how do you think this can be successful? It didn't fail because of processes. It failed because persons like us stood up, even in the last assembly. Even from away, we all advocated that it shouldn't be. But now, because of what is happening, and the economy, the extent to which it is affecting the economy, the way it is affecting food, Now, in Akwa Ibom, we have our local goat. People don't, it is almost extinct. We eat goat that comes from Adamawa State and part of the northern, part of Kaduna when it was available, and part of Niger. Now, that goat can no more come in because of the cost of diesel and transporting it down, and then the logistics of making it pass, Now, it has now become necessary that we should rear our own goat, we should plant our own food. Even rice is no more available. I can't mention the price of what I had to buy rice yesterday, in the supermarket. It is very embarrassing. So everything that should be done now, the president should consider where we are as a state of national emergency. Most matters should step down. Mr. President should impound the budget. He should impound the budget because all the parameters in the budget within 40 days of assenting to the budget has collapsed. The exchange rate, the cost of fuel, the cost of every indices that makes project, even road construction. You can't, because at what rate are you going to price bitumen? At what rate are you going to price labor? So everything should just wait. Mr. President should just, I pray him to consider summoning a national emergency discourse on the economy. Right. And before then, he impounds the budget, impounds expenditure, so that whatever he wants to do can be realistic. Let's take a quick breather, and when we come back, I will take you up on the issue of a possible switch from parliamentary system of government to presidential system of government. Yeah. That's another debate that is very critical with what we are facing right now. Yes. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us. Senator Itai Anangas is speaking with us. Some of his concluding thoughts on the issue of state police now. My concluding thought on this issue of state police for now is that, one, there should be an executive bill. An executive bill can just receive 1 week consideration. It is passed. When it is passed, it is forwarded to the State Houses of Assembly. The governors are in agreement. So this can be done and concluded in 14 days, and it is assented to by the president. And then they start, because We must have this state, we should have state police as a means of beginning to address the economic problems of growing food. And then the modalities of the state police should be this. I want to suggest that we are going to have problem of too many security agencies operating in the country with the state police on. Already we have most of the states, like Akwa Ibom State, we have the community watch. In the Ondo State, we have the Amotekun. Other states have their different kinds, but they are not authorized to carry arms. The state police should be able to integrate all this, and then it operates in. And then you now abolish civil defense. I know this is I'm going to be under attack, but civil defense is an unnecessary addition to the security cost of this country. So you abolish it and then transfer the personnel to the state police, to their states. Let them add and be the start. You abandon road safety, because most of the judgment that has been made in this country, that has been delivered by the courts, up to the Supreme Court, has delimited the powers of the, and circumscribed the powers of the road safety over state roads. And most of the roads that this operate are federal and state roads. And of course, whatever the argument, they don't need to exist. You can't be funding civil defense, road safety without, And
the president has already said that there will be more personnel in the police.
Yes, you can transfer them to the police. Let them be, after all, they came from the police. They can return to the police. Now, we can
do we need a parliamentary system of government as being proposed by some federal lawmakers?
I don't think we need to talk about the system of government, whether presidential or parliamentary. We need to talk about change of mindset, change of attitude to governance, change of attitude to power. Because, regrettably, a lot of people who come into government do not think that coming into government is coming to deliver service. A lot of people who come into government think that coming into government is just having access to the public treasury. And so it is not whether you operate parliamentary or presidential doesn't really change the situation. What needs to change is the mindset of the people who go into government. I believe, and I have always held in my private and personal discussions, that for somebody to come into government, the person should have been able to have a level of self-sustenance. He should be able to sustain himself. He shouldn't look towards government to be able to drive either his first car or to improve his house or something. So parliamentary, presidential is not a problem to me. We have a bigger problem, which is stomach infrastructure. How do we feed our country? How do we feed our countrymen? So I will not be able, perhaps later I will, when I recover from the shock of the economy. Now, if you talk of parliamentary system of government, you are talking of the situation where the same persons who are elected into parliament will become those who will be ministers, Now, it can operate and serve better in a country where institutions work, not where individuals become institutions. Imagine you choose somebody to go into an office. The first thing he does, there was laws governing that institution. The first thing he does is to seek to amend the laws in that place, to invest, to give him more powers, and then down and lower the power of the institution. So if this is still to give more powers to the legislators I'm a legislator, I can't envy it, but it is not time to discuss it, and it is not a best thing to discuss at this time, and it is not a plausible thing, because parliamentary or presidential is not the problem of Nigeria.
Senator Etianang, a very experienced lawmaker and a lawyer, thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
My pleasure.
That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye-bye.